Have you been lifting your rooks lately? In today's video, we're going to learn an idea that is very often ignored by a lot of players that can help you win a lot of games and very often to win them in style. You've probably been told that you need to activate your rooks and to bring them to files where there are no pawns or where there are one pawn. That's what we call the open or semi-open files. But very often we can improve our rooks even more by bringing them forward. And if you're playing as white, that would normally mean bringing the rook to the 3rd or 4th rank, or even further if the rook cannot be easily attacked. And the point is to bring them in front of the pawns, where they can be activated even more. The same idea can be applied when you play as black. You will mainly aim to bring the rooks to the 6th or the 5th rank. So let's visualize this idea with a very nice attacking game. Here in this position, white played the move knight to e4. White is a pawn up, but white has pretty much developed all of his pieces, where black still has to develop a lot of the pieces on the queen side. So white has, at the very least, enough compensation for the pawn. Actually, white is already having a very threatening position. And here in this position, black captured on e4, which is a move that I don't really like. Here I would have tried to develop with knight b to d7, because after knight takes e4, here black is even forcing this rook lift. After rook takes e4, white is already activating his rook. And by the way, before we get back to the game, here after knight b to d7, we have this very funny situation on which white can decide which rook to lift. Here white has two very good ways to continue. One is to go rook to e3, similar to the game activating the rook on the e-file, even attacking the queen. And now the main idea is that the rook will switch to the king side, mainly to g3 or h3, in order to try to attack black's king. But here white could have tried a similar idea by going rook to b3. So this position allows white to lift any of the rooks. But after knight takes and rook takes, here black played queen to d6, ignoring the danger in his position. Knight b to d7 was probably more logical, trying to develop, because after queen to d6, white played queen to h5, just bringing pieces to the king side in order to try to attack black's king. And again black, without development, break a very basic principle and went b5, but the position was amazingly already desperate for black. And here white could have moved the bishop, but white decided to punish black straight away by going rook to b3. This idea of the rook lift occurs very often when we have already developed the other minor pieces, as it happens in this game. So now white doesn't care about giving this bishop. The main idea is that all of other white's pieces are going to attack black's king. Here black played the move f6. In any case, after pawn takes, white has a very direct way to continue by going rook to h3, planning to capture on h7. And if black plays h6, white can go for the very direct bishop takes, sacrificing another piece, but after pawn takes and queen takes, the other rook will join the party and the game is going to be over. Not to mention that queen to h7 or queen to h8 checkmate is another huge threat. And in the game after f6, white ignored the other piece being attacked and went rook to g4. Black simply doesn't have any way to defend. There are too many threats in the position. Rook to g3, rook to h3, even bishop to e3. And here after pawn takes, white sacrifices rook, because after king takes and rook to g3, white still gets a lot of pieces to attack black's king. The continuation is pretty forcing. Here black played king to h8, if king to f6, white even has the direct queen to f3, giving a checkmate. And after king to h8, bishop to d3, queen takes, checkmate is a huge threat. Here black resigned. The game could have continued a few moves, for example rook to f5, preventing queen takes h7, but after bishop takes and pawn takes, white can still attack, for example after queen to f7, planning to give a checkmate. Black can sacrifice a queen, but after rook takes and pawn takes, white can take the bishop, but even bishop to h6 is also very strong, planning to give a checkmate, so the game is pretty much over. So let's see another example where white gets a very strong initiative after lifting rooks. Here in this position we see that white has already developed all of his pieces. There's no very easy way to improve the knight or the bishop, that's why here white went for a rook lift. Funnily enough, in this position rook to g3 could have been considered, but here white went for rook to d3, trying to improve the rook. And by the way, there's a minor drawback whenever we have a rook lift, which is that after playing rook to d3 in this case, the first rank is not covered. In this case, there's no danger on the first rank, so black cannot deliver a checkmate on the first rank, but whenever we lift a rook, we need to watch out for back rank checkmates. But in this position, there's no danger, so rook to d3 is a very interesting move. Here black played king to a8, and after a3, black played rook d to f8. It is very hard for black to find a plan in this position. f6 might be an idea here. Here white played the move bishop to f5, black played bishop to h7, white went rook g to d1, both sides are slowly maneuvering, and here black played the move g6, which looks very ugly because after g6, this bishop is going to be locked in by its own pawns. Maybe black had the idea to go bishop to g8 and then f6, trying to activate the bishop, but as we'll see in the game, black didn't have enough time for this plan. But probably black here wanted to avoid this trade because after pawn takes, we get this position where white has a strong knight against a bad bishop. This bishop is very passive, whereas this knight can be improved easily, for example after knight to e4, so white has a dominant position here. But g6 didn't improve black's position. In fact, after seeing that black is lacking pieces on the queen side, white decided to go all in and first captured on c6, ignoring this threat. Here black captured back on c6, but the point is that after taking the bishop, white just has a very strong initiative. White can start with knight to d5, attacking the queen and the bishop, and if the queen tries to defend the bishop, here white has more than one way to continue, but bringing the rook into action is a nice way. Just planning to capture on b7, and if white captures on c6, after queen to a6, we'll see a similar idea in the game. Here white has too many threats, queen to b7 checkmate, queen takes, knight to b6, so black is unable to hold this position. So taking on c6 was a safer approach, but here white insisting with this idea of sacrificing on c6 after bishop to d7, queen to c7 and bishop takes. White simply sacrificed a piece to get this very nice d5 square after knight to d5, and considering that this bishop on h7 is doing nothing at all, white has more than compensation for the piece. Now the knight is attacking the bishop, and after bishop to d8, rook to c3, now white will combine all of his pieces to attack black's king. Here black tried queen to b7, trying to cover some key squares in the position, and here white played rook to b3, and after queen to c6, white didn't want to repeat moves, but just bring another rook to the game after rook d to d3. Here black tried to avoid this move, but to end a very nice game with two spectacular moves. First, rook d to c3, insisting with this idea, and after bishop takes, here comes the brilliant queen to a6. White is sacrificing everything, and here in this position black resigned. Black is a very strong player. First of all, the main idea is after queen takes a6, knight to c7 is a checkmate. And if black tries to defend the queen has to keep an eye on b7, because otherwise queen to b7 is checkmate. And if black tries to go rook to c8, then after knight to b6, white gets a crushing position if the king moves, since the knight cannot be captured because the a7 pawn was pinned. After knight takes, white is getting the material back plus getting a crushing attack. Or if black tries to sacrifice the queen, after rook takes, white still gets this threat of queen to b7, and if black tries to cover that square after pawn takes bishop, white gets the better position and a material advantage, since this rook on b6 can't be captured, the pawn a7 is pinned, so this should also be an easy win for white. And last I want to mention that the rook lift can also be used for more defensive purposes or to improve a piece. We might have a piece that is not well placed on a square, so we might need to move it, but we might also have a rook lift in order to defend our position or to leave that square to another piece. So here in this position it is black to play, and white's position looks a bit threatening because white has all these pieces trying to attack black's king, but on the other hand black has these two pieces defending the king, and white committed in this position because first of all black has pressure against white's center, and white still has some very passive pieces like this bishop on c2 or this rook on a1, which is not doing anything. So here in this position black could have considered a move like g6, but before playing that I really like what black played. Here we have two former world champions, and Mikhail Tal playing as white is a player who would very often sacrifice pieces. So after g6, white would have most likely sacrificed a piece, That's why before attacking white's pieces, black wanting to improve his worst piece, which is the rook on a8, which is not doing a lot there. That's why the move rook to a6 is a very nice rook lift. The idea is that the rook will cover the 6th rank, and in this particular position black might have ideas to go queen to a8, putting more pressure on the center. And in this position white doesn't have anything better than to move forward with his plan. Here white sacrificed on h6. White doesn't seem to have very logical moves, and if white plays a waiting move like king to h2, now black might go for g6, and this knight on f5 doesn't have good squares to retreat, so white might still have to sacrifice a piece. So with that in mind, here Tal, who is a player who really liked to sacrifice pieces, went knight takes h6, and after pawn takes, knight to f5. Now this knight is very stable there after the sacrifice, but here black, seeing that white didn't have any concrete threats so far, played the move queen to a8, putting more pressure on the center. Pawn takes and then capturing on e4 might be an idea. That's why here white kept on sacrificing pieces and went knight takes, and after bishop takes, queen to f5 was the idea, and after king to h8, here after bishop takes, white got one of the pieces back, but on the other hand this simplifies the position. White's position might look a bit threatening, but here black is in time by going rook to g8, inviting trades. White doesn't want to simplify the position because black is a piece up, and after bishop to g5, now here black played the move queen to e8. The idea is to move the knight and keep this pawn f7 defended, and after f4, knight to h7, the position will get simplified after bishop to h4, rook takes and bishop takes. And now finally this rook that was mainly defending the 6th rank now gets active and goes rook to f6. And here white doesn't have anything for the sacrifice piece, and black won the game in just a few moves. So keep in mind this idea of activating your rooks with a rook lift whenever you can. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and hit the bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos. That's it for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.